and welcome back to Cinema Sitdown. Today we watched a Netflix original movie called Silver Skates, released in 2020, directed by Michael Lockshin. We have a lot to say in so little time, so we'll see you after the intro. Hello, welcome back. I'm here with some cool people. What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Addie.
I'm Kayla.
Isaiah.
I'm Thomas.
Okay, so let's begin with the casual. What are your initial thoughts that you want to share with the class? What are your thoughts?
Well, you initially told me that this was the movie that was filled with like the most stereotypes and like cliches, specifically cliches ever.
Yes.
And maybe I just didn't pick up on it. There were a lot, don't get me wrong, but I think that it wasn't as bad as you let on.
Maybe it was just.
There were a lot of cliches though.
There were a lot of cliches.
Specifically romance cliches.
And the last like what 20 minutes of the movie?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I will say, I do agree with that, but I think it being in Russian made it better to not be as like a weird cliche though, because I feel like, again, like I said, if it was like in English, I felt like it would have been almost cringy, because I think a lot of romance movies can be kind of like cringy, and so I'm just like, oh, I don't like that. But for me to like just more of like see what they're doing, it didn't make it as like cliche. And I do agree with Thomas. You were like, oh no, it's really sappy. I didn't really think it was that sappy.
I didn't think it was sappy. I think what got me was just like when I watched the first time was the end when he died and came back to life. Spoilers. And then he got shot and didn't die. Spoilers. I did like that concept because like there's always that thing where like they get shot but something in their jacket saves them. When it was his dad's skates that he made for him. Mm-hmm. It was so cute. I was like, this is so cheesy, but it's so cute. And I'm so happy. It makes me really happy.
That's my thoughts on the whole movie. Like, I didn't pick up on many of the cliches. I did some, but like, I just thought it was cute. I like a little bit of sappy romance sometimes.
Yeah, it's very heartwarming.
It's cute. It's cute.
Like it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of people talk about, cliches and tropes. I mean, sometimes that is perfectly fine. I mean, going into this movie, from the very beginning, you get, the promise that this is what the movie's going to be about. If you don't like it, leave. Yep. And, I really enjoyed it. I thought for me, since I'm also not like a huge fan of romances, I don't mind them, but I don't search for them. The street gang kind of aspect of it, I thought that was cool. I loved all of them. I'm kind of a sucker for like, gang kind of stuff, like, especially when it's like kind of like goofballs.
Right.
It's not like.
Yeah. I was gonna ask about what you guys thought about the whole like gang, because when I watched it the first time, I was like, this is the least intimidating gang I've ever seen.
That's why I love it.
Yeah. They're so like I don't know. It just made me laugh so hard.
I absolutely adored that angle for this whole movie. Specifically the character of Alex, who's like the ringleader of the gang, is casted so well. Don't know what the guy's name is. Absolutely kills that role.
Yeah, he does so good.
He does such a good job of being like silly, goofy guy, but also being like insanely intimidating. And also like you never really know what his next move is going to be, but he's always like a few steps ahead. Yeah. And he's perfect for like what could easily be like a gang of theater kids. It's awesome.
It is a gang of theater kids.
He's all his movements are really smooth and calculated, and that's what makes him so intimidating compared to everyone else who's just kind of like a ragtag group of people. Everything, he's constantly looks like he's working out what to do next. Yeah. And then you see him do it, and it's like
so smooth.
When he shoots I forget his name, the Count, the Duke, the blonde yeah, he pulls it out. And that happens, and I looked at him, I'm like, did he just shoot him? It was so quick.
It was so quick.
With a gun.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I remember when I watched it the first time, I was like,
it was so cool. I love him.
You didn't even see where he shot him. You're like, is he dead or
I thought it was like in the stomach or something, and he was like, it was just in the leg, and then he recovers. I don't know how long this like movie takes place, or like how long it is.
I'm guessing over the course of a month.
Because I feel like recovering from a gunshot wound to the leg, I feel like takes a little bit more time
According
to
to
do
the
that.
Wikipedia, which I briefly skimmed, this is supposed to take place over the course of like a week or so.
Wow.
It's
Okay.
very, very short
I
scale.
mean, I guess
Well-
they did kind of lead into it saying like when he got shot, it's like, oh, you got lucky, it missed anything
Yeah.
important.
So the dad died in like the span of like a day.
Like 2 days,
The
yeah.
kid was gone for like 2 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be
Because
wrong
that
on
makes it
but
feel
it's
less
very
impactful.
long.
Because like I was thinking it was like a month, and the
Yeah.
kid was gone for a couple weeks.
That's what I thought too.
Yeah.
I thought it was gone. I knew that it was for a few days at the very least, but I thought it was a little bit longer. And I thought it.
I mean, that's what
busy
happens
It's
when
a
you
busy week. I
when you
guess.
give your life to a life of crime.
Your life of crime.
I mean, what'd you expect?
So I
Just
wanted to. I wanted to ask if you guys think the romance aspect was done well.
I'm gonna. Go ahead.
No, go. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say for what it is, I'm going to agree. So like, because usually in a lot of movies, and maybe it is because it's in Russian and you have to like process the subtitles as well.
Right.
But that's not a big deal for me. A lot of times when there's romance in movies, I don't like it. I look at it, I see it, I'm like, this doesn't feel right. They don't seem like they have any chemistry whatsoever. They're just put together because, oh, the movie needs a romance. I guess because it was written around the romance, but I've also
Yeah.
seen romances where they didn't seem like a good fit.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
So, like-
I guess it also comes down to the actors too.
Yeah, that
But,
too. They really kind of bounced off each other, in my opinion.
think
I
they
thought it was
will.
cute.
Yeah.
It seemed almost like I don't know how to explain it. Like, a lot of the time it will show that like, oh, she fell in love so quickly, but it wasn't even like she fell in love immediately. It was just kind of like, I just like hanging around you because like I don't get to meet a lot of like commoners, and so it was just kind of making like a trust or like a bond with each other, and so it wasn't immediately like, oh my gosh, I'm like completely like swooned or anything like that. It was
I think
like
it also
leading up.
helped that he was like, yeah, you can go teach, why not?
Yeah,
And she
I was like,
like,
he's like equal rights.
oh, in love with that, love equal rights for women.
I really like if you call it a twist, where the Count also supported that. He's like, you wouldn't believe this, but I'm a liberal, and I thought
That
was
made me
so
laugh
funny.
Okay,
so hard
yeah,
when I read Watch the first time.
Was I supposed to read? I read that scene as he doesn't actually know what he's talking about.
That's what I
Because-
thought.
Yeah, because he's like, I also support us being able to vote.
Vote.
And
And
she's
you're like,
like,
what
we
voting?
don't vote. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And he's
I
like,
read it as like
oh,
he
man.
just kind of skimmed over
He-
liberal
yeah, 'cause
Wikipedia.
It
yeah.
was
knows?
funny though.
It
when he
was,
said
oh
that.
my god, when I watched
Yeah.
it, he was like, you would believe, but I'm a liberal. I'm like, you.
She just looked at him like,
mean?
what?
It's, oh.
You fiend.
I don't know. I also really liked when at the beginning when she was like, you or like what? Because he stole something from her, right? I can't remember. But she was like, you have to be my husband so I can get into this school. And
Oh.
she was like, can you like write this down? And he was like,
So about that.
I thought that.
I
I
can't
thought it was
read.
a really cute thing.
I
Don't
think
know.
honestly using that in stories like that really helps. And I saw that I was like, he can read. Oh my gosh, she's gonna teach him to read. They never did that, but I thought it was going
I'm
to.
assuming
He still
she
can't.
Probably
Still can't
did
read.
eventually.
Yeah.
So they got it. Had
I
a
thought it
kid
was gonna be like a
together.
cute moment. They never did it.
I know. I kind of did too.
I thought that story beat worked especially well when she's like, "Oh, we'll just read what the sign says," and then it cuts to text in Russian, and I'm like, "Well, I can't read that." So I'm like, granted, this is just because it's obviously made in a different language, but like I get a little bit of that, like, oh, his feeling of like,
I don't know what that is. Just read it.
How I felt during the entirety of the opening credits.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So they did bring up like inequality and stuff. Do you think they did that like with gender and like class and stuff? Do you think they did that well?
I feel like they did.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting with like the street gang. They kind of showed different aspects that people can take in approaching kind of a, I don't want to say like not a revolt, but like a new ideology maybe of how to do things. Because, there's the one guy who's kind of more violent, and then there's, I think his name was like, what was his name? Genghis? His name was Genghis. He's kind of more like, he seems a little bit more relaxed, and like he kind of goes by like, oh, you make a oath, maybe honor and
I
stuff
don't
like
think
that.
he spoke until that line.
No,
Yeah.
which
me
was
neither.
pretty cool. Honestly, he just stabs the table
Right,
and says
yeah.
that. And that's like the only line he has.
He's like,
Right.
yes, your dad.
And then there's like Alex, who is obviously very like calculated, and it seems like more like kind of a means to an end is worth it kind of thing. So
Right.
they all had their own little opinions, but they were still on the same side. With like the royalty, I feel like they were all pretty much the same.
They're
which-
very out for themselves.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, yeah,
so
that- I mean,
which,
it's royalty.
which makes sense. Besides, like Alice, obviously, she's kind of learning to be more. And I have a few troubles with that kind of trope in general that I won't go into here because it'll take too long. But the whole thing of the rich people learning to love poor people is kind of a trope I don't like, but I still enjoyed the movie.
Right.
It was just kind of like, I was like, okay, I'll not think about that part that much.
I think that it was interesting how they played into the historical aspect, because you're asking about like how they did the for lack of better terms, like women's suffrage and things like that, and this more like progressive point of view. And I think that historical movies have a tendency to lean into that, and I think for this movie it worked out really well, just because it seemed like it wasn't structured around that. Like, it wasn't the main reason that the story was happening, but it was still just like a nice touch to give like more character to everyone involved, specifically the older lady who went back to England at the end. I think her name Miss Frank or something like that.
I think it was Jackson.
Miss Jackson, yes. Miss Jackson, she's like, there's a quote from it that's sometimes the hardest decisions are the simplest to make. And I thought that line worked really, really well in the context of this movie, especially with the romance and street gang plots that they kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna talk about the street gang again. I can't actually get over that. I think I'm also like a sucker for like having like there be a gang, but they're not actually like really causing trouble. Like, they just want money, man. Like, so they just will like. I mean, I'm not saying stealing is good. That is not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, like, for a movie though, really, until he shot the guy, which I mean he was probably gonna kill him anyway. I don't know. I feel like they were pretty harmless, but they were just kind of like, oh man, we're so good and stuff like that. And it's like,
I mean, in their defense, they were pretty good at what they were doing.
Oh, they were so good at what they were doing.
I was, when they did like the whole like training montage of teaching him how to do it, I thought that was so cute. I thought it was so cute.
We love a good montage.
All of this like slow-mo parts of just like the whole choreography aspect of it.
Right,
I
dude.
literally was in love with it. It was so cool.
The chase scene that lasted so long of them, the cops on the ice and everything, but it's just like, I liked that. All the different things they got out of it.
Keep going.
Slicing through the change with an ice skate, that was fun.
I know.
That was so cool.
The choreography, and I'm so mad because in a lot of the scenes they murder it in the editing. The editing for most of this movie, totally fine.
Yeah.
Specifically those like high intensity chase scenes, it's like cut. We can't see anything that is happening.
Right.
When he cut the chain, I was like, oh, that's really cool. How did he get in that position? Because they show it for like literally half of a second of him like doing I think he does like a somersault, slides, and then like kicks. Also, what's up with literally everyone in the gang being like actually Spider-Man?
Oh my god! No, I thought the same thing. I was like, they are incredibly flexible for just being able to steal things. But I mean,
it works out for them.
No, it does.
But at the same time, like, you could do a lot of cool stuff with that isn't stealing. Which they talk about stealing all the time, but like, that's a normal market. I feel like that was just kind of normal people there all the time. You talk about stealing from the rich; those people are just normal people.
I mean, maybe, but it seems like all the stuff that they kept getting from the people was ridiculously expensive.
How did they like not catch him for like this long? Like, they were like, man, we just have a really big like infestation of these people stealing, and it's like they're wearing the same thing. I mean, I feel like they're bound to like catch on.
Covering their face at all.
No, Alex still wears the same exact hat. I mean, that's pretty iconic. So I feel like you'd be like, oh, that's
the guy with the hat.
The guy with the hat.
I mean, a lot of part of the reason they're getting away with it is just because nobody knows they've been robbed until so long after the fact.
That's true.
That's true.
Because they're so
so quick with it.
They are.
Also, sorry.
I was just gonna talk about something else. What?
Very quick thing. I'm just really glad that they didn't end up having Alex like backstab the group at the end.
I
really thought he was
that. I could never quite figure out his motives.
Yeah.
Like,
no, he just wanted money and to leave.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then I don't know. It was just. But yeah, so I was gonna go back to the whole like women's thing about how
we got off track.
Elisa or Alice, she wanted to go into teaching. I agree with you in the sense that sometimes when they go through that concept of we have like this really intense like underdog story that seems really unlikely. I don't think it was that unrealistic in her sense because she's royalty, and that's it. She's royalty. And I don't know what they were like in Russia.
That's true.
It's Russia. I don't know what they're doing over there. So I think that made it a little bit more digestible, and also like, I don't remember who said it. One of you said that it wasn't the main focus of the movie, which I thought was very sweet. What did you guys think of the main character? We talked about a lot of other characters. What do you think of the main guy?
I liked him. I thought it was cute.
I thought it was cute.
Well, like I mean, more to it than just him being cute. But like I don't know.
He also had insane plot armor.
True.
Do what?
Plot armor?
Bro literally died.
He literally died.
That's true.
And then came back.
Just look past that a little bit. But like if you look past that and
look
then
past him dying.
I was about to
dying
say
again.
I mean, I don't know, tough cookie. So
tough cookie. No.
I feel like I don't know. He knew what was right and knew what was besides the stealing part. But like
even then though, he was doing it to get his dad. Medical. Like care because what he had tuberculosis.
He was stealing in like the most morally positive way that you
exactly.
possibly can.
I think that's what I like about it. He felt almost real in a sense. I know it's like a romance movie, so nothing feels real, but but like in the sense of because of his social standing and where he doesn't have much money. He agrees with Alex for the longest time. He's like, yeah, no, those rich people, they suck, and everything's bad, and I'm stealing because it's the best thing for me right now. And he kind of falls into that moral standpoint. Mm-hmm. But after thinking it through, he realizes, no, I want to be a good person, but this is what I know, and this is helping.
And his dad dies. And
his dad dies. But he still kind of follows that. I feel like that shows actual freaking growth. You don't see that.
Great.
I like the growth.
I think it's interesting because in the end, it doesn't give the message that, you know, Alex and his group are bad people.
No.
Or
which I think
that
I like that too.
Yeah, or that I mean the main character, he makes that decision, but it's more of a personal decision that he's doing. Mm-hmm. So it still kind of has that aspect of this underlying message of they were still kind of doing something that is morally gray. It does at the end it doesn't say like, oh, they were terrible people for stealing. It doesn't say necessarily it's good or bad, but it's giving you kind of that choice where it's like, okay, you get to choose what you want to do. You get to choose how you believe in this kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that. I did feel like once his father died, which obviously I feel like we all knew was coming if you just know story artists. But I feel like his character did become very flat after that because he didn't really have like any. I just wish they gave him like some goal that he was wanting to become or something like that, so that you know that ending scene he could have gotten with Alice, but then they also show like oh, he's doing pottery or something, you know. I wish they would have shown him
his job afterwards.
I just wanted to know like his
his wife was a teacher. Did he need to do anything?
I think
that's true. I mean,
they tried to
university teacher. I thought so.
Because
I don't know.
his goals sort of shifted from being like, okay, I was just trying to help my father out initially, and obviously I'm trying to go on a date with the princess or whatever. And then it became, after his father died, it became trying to help her escape. So like his goal was, he was even saying like, even if I'm not back on the train, like make sure that she leaves. Like he was pretty dedicated to making sure she left. And honestly, this is a weird case where like, I know it wouldn't work for the story like at all, but I almost wish that he didn't make it onto the train and almost did like a sacrifice play to like ensure that she was able to
Because it would also like give a sense of like, he's like, I don't know, it gives him a little bit more of like individuality, I think.
Yeah.
But I also, I don't know, I liked the ending when they had a kid and they were teaching about ice skate in the same like, area.
That's the thing. I feel like they still could have done that ending scene where he sacrifices himself so she can get on the train, and then ending scene you see him buying. He's like stepping off of the train. He has a ticket, just a huge smile on his face, and he goes and finds her. Like maybe years later, and you just kind of imply like, oh, he was saving up and working hard.
Yeah, maybe.
I would have loved that.
But that's not romance.
As far as the implication for like the progressivism, I like the end in the sense that the father finally sees that his daughter's doing some really cool stuff, and then essentially tells the universities to change it so that women can teach. But then it makes the entire premise of the movie of her trying to leave Russia feel completely undermined because it's like, she did it! She got out! 3 minutes later, she is teaching in Russia, like in movie time. Of course, years have passed, but they don't take enough time to like sit on that and allow it to like sink in. It's like, oh, she got out, and then they tell you from a third party what she's been up to, and then he's just like, I guess you can teach then.
So, final ratings, because we're getting yelled at to wrap up.
Honestly, I would say a 9 out of 10. I very much enjoyed this movie. So, I don't know.
Oh. I'm going to go 7.5. I thought it was cute. I liked it. Actually, I'm going to put that up to an 8, actually. I thought it was cute. I like how they actually did give the characters some personality and stuff that they enjoyed doing. yeah, that's my thoughts.
I'm gonna do a good 8, just because it was a nice movie. I liked it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm gonna be 7.5. I think that's really strong rating for me. It does exactly what I expect from this romance movie. It does it well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go 8.5. I think the story has something unique to offer other than most romance novels. Really love the choreography, love the dynamic between the whole gang element, which you've talked about in depth. I wish that they didn't butcher it in the edit because there's some really cool choreography and cinematography, and there's just some parts that I think they need a little bit more work on. But other than that, 8.5.
True.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Cinema Sitdown. We'll see you next episode, I guess. Thanks for joining me. Bye.
Oh, we gotta do this. We gotta do the happy talk where we act like we're talking, but we're
Okay.
actually.
Yeah.